Coming into this conference this weekend, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, honestly. I've gotten to meet a lot of new people and really experience a bunch of different corners of America, of the Breadloaf Network, all coming in one place.
It was great to see different backgrounds, all different cultures coming together to do the same thing.
What's going on here, the youth coming together, exchanging ideas, coming to some place like this is life-changing. The passion to bring change is there, so they just need our guidance to help mold this, because we have to go home on the ground and we have to put these ideas in action.
What we're going to talk about now is cross-site communication, and this is really important because while we're building each other up as leaders, it's also important that we establish a foundation of support.
We are at the second year of the Navajo Nation Writing Conference. There's 6 sites total, but we're wanting to expand across the rest of the nation. We can go across the world, so this is something that's huge. It's amazing. I'm most familiar with our Navajo people and how they speak our traditional language. So the youth organizations here on the reservation, I was most comfortable with that. But expanding into other communities that aren't Native is totally new. I didn't know how really to assert myself in that situation. So with NGLN, I think all of us were learning together. For the other sites, learning how to work with a Native community, and for us Native students to learn to communicate with non-Native communities. That's something that I don't think any of us were planning or expecting. With blogging, you can just, you can make it as informal, as formal as you want. So just pretend you're writing and talking to yourself.
Stories that sound uncommon but are in fact not, that are in fact relevant. Relevant in the way that we are not alone, and relevant in the way that we will not be forgotten.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
To be here today with all the people here in Window Rock is a very special gift to me, as well as to everyone here. I'm soaking up so much wisdom from the young people here. They are wise well beyond their years, and we need to listen to them and hear what they have to say.
At the sound of a bird's chime, and kind of before the beginning of time, once was a caterpillar into the cocoon it climbed. Too frightened to look, too frightened to see, he would one day be beautiful with colors of a bee. With his beauty day coming, it wouldn't be long. He would become a big butterfly with wings, yellow and long.
It's perfect, baby.
Well, I've been with the Breadloaf program for about 10 years now. I started off as a student, and I was just so in love with the program and writing that I really wanted to take on more leadership skills. So I became a writing leader. So I've been able to train other writing leaders, and now I'm in a position where I can be really in close contact and mentor these young kids and provide them with whatever support that they need. So when we went to Vermont in the summer, I was a mentor, which was weird because usually I'm like the student, and this year I was like the guidance. I was there to watch them, to supervise. But it was really great because I got to see both ends of the spectrum of how to run a program, how to actually community build with people that are from all over this country and who are dealing with all different sorts of topics with different kinds of kids in different positions. So it was just a big, beautiful, intersectional mess. We really wanted to focus on getting to know each other, what our sites are doing, what we wish our sites were doing, to kind of get more comfortable with each other so that way we can learn each other's strengths and see who can help in what area. So a prompt that we wanted to do was really focusing on the people that inspire you, whether they be people you personally know or celebrities, thinkers, writers that you look up to, and thinking about the ways that they influence you and how their messages kind of influence the way you try to put your message, whatever that message may be, into your communities.
A big thing we want to do here today is help you all establish what your sites are doing and why it's important that you're doing what you're doing. big slogan that I came with is the next generation isn't necessarily next, it's now. We're here, we're all 18, we're adults. So I think it's time for us to start stepping up as leaders. And the reason why it's important that we do things like this is because typically education doesn't really give us the opportunity to stand up as leaders. We're usually looked down upon, or if we are giving a leadership role, we are, I guess, kind of like controlled in a way that doesn't allow us to reach our full potential as leaders.
In Navajo, we call this relationship building. Working together to resolve issues and problems. And so these 6 sites from across the country are here together. People from black communities in Atlanta and the poor areas of South Carolina and the countryside of Vermont and Lawrence, Massachusetts and Sierra Vista and southern Arizona, and then the different schools from the Navajo Nation. People with different backgrounds, urban areas and rural areas, people from different cultures and languages and races and ethnicities. And it brings me back to this idea that Dixie Goswami talks about. She says we need to communicate across differences intentionally for a purpose. For me to actually see young people, their teachers and educators and foundations and schools and Navajo Nation leadership coming together and address critical social issues, to fight for social causes and to work together as professors and authors and as writers, as young people learning to do things, just for them to work together. That's amazing.
In Navajo, they say that Earth provides a sacred place for all living things, from insects to animals to plants and so on. So part of this writing is to pay attention to other forms of life that sometimes we call the exterminator for, and other things, but we need to rethink some of these things.
I am man. I am made to bow in the grandness of risings, and I am only free in the briefest of moments, when my feet rise off the ground. When I land tomorrow, will the land receive my call and bless my fall?
I don't like bugs or insects or spiders, they're all the same. Whether it be 6 legs, 4 legs, 8 legs, I have no shame to admit that I am not fond. No, I am terrified of bugs. They bite, they fly, they eat, they crawl, they stare, they probably judge me for my irrational fear of something small despite being tall, my fear of something weak despite being strong. I could go on, but all there is to say is I'm terrified of bugs.
I think it's important that this particular community of young people are diverse. The theme of the conference is to think across differences. And in our divisive era now in America, it's so important for us to bring together a diverse set of young people so they can see their common interests and their common joys and their common hopes. One of the things that drew the Ford Foundation to this work is that Breadloaf and the Breadloaf Teacher Network and the work among young people has started a long time ago. Breadloaf and Middlebury has been at this in terms of building networks for over 30 years. What we're simply doing is investing in the next phase of that work, which of course means that we want to be able to invest and connect young people across different communities, and also to go beyond that and to continue to connect this group of young people with an even larger movement of young people who are really working very hard to make their communities a better place to live, to make their states a better place to live, and to make their country and their world a better place to live.
I think there needs to be more billboards of, the art that portrays the Navajo tradition.
My favorite part of this has been to see sort of continuity from projects that maybe some of my work contributed to 4 or 5 years ago, and seeing all of that really grow and blossom into new things and have other people take them off in different directions.
If I described a character's laugh like she had a Persian rug laugh, what would you think about? Aside from all the wonderful stuff Reg said.
I would think she was exotic.
Okay, exotic.
Expensive.
What else? expensive. Okay. What else? Anything else? Experience.
We're starting a strategic planning process, which will really determine the future of all of Middlebury's programs, particularly where will we want to go in the future with the Breadloaf Teacher Network and with Middlebury's language schools, and how can it fit into these transformational goals, one of which is really global network change maker. And if anybody's making significant global networking now, it's certainly the teacher network is doing that in really significant ways, and I think it's really, you can really see that here at this conference with the Navajo Nation.
Cross-site visits, these are kind of special. It's like this, what we're doing now, conferences. I've been lucky enough to be an attendant at every site, except for South Carolina. I haven't been there. But this has actually been a very long journey. It started my, I want to say, sophomore year. And before I knew it, I was in Vermont with a whole group of kids from like all over the country. And it was weird because like no one ever told me explicitly what I was doing there until like the second day I was there. Hey, you're part of the Next Generation Leadership Network. And I'm like, what? What is that? I started like meeting all these like great people. And I kind of like found like this family outside of school.
My team is working on climate change and its effect on the maple syrup industry in Vermont and how that then affects our people and the communities in Vermont and how that will change over time if nothing happens.
Coming here with the Vermont What's the Story Youth, I think is particularly powerful because it's this chance for these young people who are looking at issues that are impacting their communities to talk to other young people from different parts of the country, from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, and to see where there are commonalities in the issues that are arising in their communities and how they can draw upon one another's work to enact the social change that they are seeking to make in their own spaces.
The future of BLTN and NGLN, the Next Gen students, depends quite a lot on their ability to create, sustain, and spread a narrative. Rex spoke very movingly in his Hogan address today about the fact that Navajo stories, which are crucial to the culture, are not static, but rather dynamic. So I don't mean when I say Next Gen needs to create a narrative that it needs to be a one-size-fits-all we're going to say this over and over and over and over again. That's not what I mean. I mean more in the Navajo spirit of flexible, dynamic stories, but a message about how they see youth leadership impacting this country. And that is the message that is still being crafted, but that needs to go out really not just from the teachers, but more from the students, student to student to student, school to school to school.
With my interest trying to help educate others as well as continuing to educate myself, I think that goes along well with the goals and the work that we've been doing with Next Generation Leadership Network.
By hearing about some of the different issues that other young people are experiencing in their communities, one of the things that really does for the Vermont youth, for Navajo youth from South Carolina and Lawrence, it helps them develop a wider perspective where they can understand, even if those issues aren't pertinent in their particular community.
You know, we're all willing to grow together. It has been great, a great support system.